Now we will start with the case studies of Iraqi cities. The first case study will be about Baghdad city with Professor Ghada Slik about tangible and intangible heritage Baghdad, the city of peace. Professor Ghada is the previously head of the Department of Architecture, College of Engineering, University of Baghdad, research and supervision of thesis on the topic of theory and conservation of architecture. Author of the book City of Stories, founder of Decomomo 2016, chair of Iraqi Decomomo International, member of the higher committees of basic design of Baghdad, city mayoralty of Baghdad, and consultant in Baghdad mayoralty. She awarded the Tamayuz Iraqi Women Architects 2013, founder member of the Foundation for the Development of Baghdad, editorial member of the Iraqi Journal of Architecture. Please, Dr. Ghada, if you available now.
Yes, thank you. Yes, I will share my screen.
Yeah, as you know, Dr. Ghada, you will have 20 minutes for your presentation, and please, our attendants, you can put your any question in the chat box, and later we will discuss your questions. Please, Dr. Ghada, mic is yours.
Okay, thank you very much, everybody, in this very interesting project of Engage. I am going to talk today about the tangible and intangible heritage of the legendary city of Baghdad, the city of peace. So, the name of Baghdad goes back to the time of Hammurabi, that's 2000 years BC. Today, Baghdad is a big metropolis with about 8 million inhabitants spreading over a large area with the Tigris River in its middle and in its heart. The river has always been the main constituent of the city character. So Baghdad is situated in the middle of the valley of the two Euphrates at the closest point between them. In modern Baghdad, we see that the southeast area belonged 2000 BC to the kingdom of Ishnuna, the Akkadian kingdom of Ishnuna. We see the site of Tel Muhammad. The northwest also belonged to the Achaemenid kingdom, the Mesopotamian Achaemenid kingdom. At Dur-Korikazo, we know the ziggurat of Dur-Korikazo, and today is known by the Agarbuk ziggurat. We have a lot of foundings, very interesting foundings. For example, we have the first battery in history that was found also in Tel Muhammad. It's called by historians the Baghdad battery. We have the theory related to Pythagoras, and also in the area of Baghdad, that's 1,000 years before Pythagoras. Because of the valley of the Euphrates is higher than the valley of the Tigris, we had small canals and rivers flowing from the Euphrates to the Tigris and creating good agricultural lands. This area was full of small cities, villages, and with a very peaceful, quietful environment full of trees and water. Yet, it was to become the capital of the second ruling house of Islam, that's the Abbasid Caliphate. When Abu Ja'far al-Mansur decided to build his city on the west bank of the river, it was not a city, it was like a governmental center with the 2 walls, 4 gates, and his palace in the middle. Well, This round city did not last long. It lasted less than 200 years, and the city moved to the eastern bank, and that was the part which continued to exist for about 1,000 years. We don't have any remains, unfortunately, of the round city. We don't know exactly where it was, its real borders. Here we see layers of the history of Baghdad, the round city and the eastern city overlapped of the modern city of Baghdad in the 60s. We could see then that the traces of the older rivers. Although that nothing has been left from the round city, we don't know anything of its remains. It is the most used symbol of the city of Baghdad in logos, posters, and artwork, and also in architectural work. It's not a circle. This is a badge of our college. It's not a circle. It's the city with 2 walls and 4 gates. Other colleges' logos, schools' logos, and also in architectural work. So the city on the eastern bank flourished in the 10th century, and it was walled in the 13th century as the Abbasid Caliphate grew weaker. This part with the small part of the curve represent now the center, the historic center of the city. What has been left, or what we got from this very rich heritage, architectural heritage, goes back to the 12th and 13th century, like the Mustansiriya School, Abu Wastani, Abbasid Palace. This is the city walls in the 17th century. And this is the city how it looked in the early 20th century. Still, the Tigris was the heart of the city. Besides the historical heritage, the main heritage that we got through centuries was the development of the compact urban fabric, inward-looking buildings with the organic alleys. We have the shrine of Imam Kadhim, Imam Jawad in Kadhimiya. We have the mosque of Abi Hanifa and other mosques and churches. But beside this tangible great heritage, I'm going to talk a little bit about the intangible parts, starting with the plants. In many of those traditional houses, there was the tree, the buckthorn tree. The buckthorn tree has its symbolic value, and it was said that if you cut this tree, your house would collapse. Together with the palm tree and olive trees, all have their symbolic values. Not all of them were planted inside the city, but in the outer skirt. They have their origins in Mesopotamian activities and heritage. Well, celebrated by Muslims and also in the Christian traditions. The planning, the great planning, and the composition, the architectural composition, the shading is very unique for those alleys. Yet, the traditional life was full of this very energetic, traditional way of living. If we see the house, inward looking with weather treatment, but in this house, there are other components. For example, let's see the jar. It was filled with water, put in a corner or on the parapet of the roofs to be cooled so that people would drink cold water in the hot summer. But also, these jars and other ceramic utensils were to be broken traditionally at the beginning of July. And why July? It is the month called Tammuz, Timuzi in Arabic and Aramaic. He was the god, the Mesopotamian god, who in the legend loved the goddess Inanna, the goddess of earth, and she was captured by the power of underworld, and he sacrificed himself for her, and he got rid of the evil spirit. So people would break this jar to get rid of the evil spirit, and this tradition transformed to the end of the Arabic month of Safar for the same purpose. This is Tammuz and Inanna. And this living tradition is still going on and having with the jars and all ceramic utensils. These are the roofs of the urban fabric. You could see the wide gears that the air catches the elements for the air for the weather treatment. But also the roofs were used for sleeping and were used by young men to train pigeons, to breed pigeons and to train them over these roofs. And in the alleys, traditional games took place like Find the Ring, Habis, mainly in Ramadan evenings. Baghdad is celebrating the birth of Prophet Muhammad with candles, Christian celebration with candles as well, but also Baghdadis used to lit candles and put them in the river for wish fulfillment, as in the place of Qadr Elias, which I mentioned in my last presentation in the last workshop. Baghdadis of all religions and sects, and from the north to the south, they all prepare the sweet called pleja for all feasts. And they practice the coffee tradition, hospitality. They cook, they prepare for Zachariah. Zachariah is the father of John the Baptist, and people would wish and ask for Zachariah for wish fulfillment. They would prepare candles and sweets, especially for the wish for children. And it's celebrated also, not only in houses with trays of Zachariah each year in a certain time, but also in the place of Qadr Elias. Many legends are gathered there of John the Baptist, St. George, Al-Qadr, etc. Baghdadis share food on these occasions and other occasions with the neighbors. And they cook for Imam Hussein, and they cook for Imam Kazim, whose shrine is in Baghdad. They would serve food for the visitors of the Imam, and they share their neighbors and their friends with this food. If we go back to the river and the tradition of water, Baghdadis pour water of the traveling one so that he might return safe. This tradition has been in Baghdad for about, or in Iraq mainly, in about 4,000 years. It is linked to the god Enki, the god of water, who used to protect travelers in Mesopotamian heritage. And the Mandayas practice their rituals in weddings and baptizing and other rituals by the river. Baghdadis even dress like they were, especially this Amama type, as they dressed 1,000 years ago. These are the dresses and jewels of Mesopotamian, and these are the dresses, traditional dresses that survived. Unfortunately, in the Dark Ages and the ages of sorrow, women used to wear the black abaya. But those who survived in the villages, we still see the same dressing, the same Mesopotamian dressing. And girls would beautify themselves with henna before marriage as a good omen. So all this intangible heritage and a lot more lived and still living in this city. In the beginning of the 20th century, new events happened, and in 1921, the new state of Iraq was established. Baghdad city started to grow outside its walls, to the north, to the south. Modern streets, squares, bridges, all were part of the growth of the city. But in this modern city, the Baghdadis celebrated and honored their historic poets and scientists and writers, like the statue of Abu Nuwas in the street that's named after him, the statue of Al-Mutanabbi in the street named after him. But not only the writers or poets were celebrated, also the characters of the legends, the 1,000 night legends. We see here Shahrazad and Shahrayar have their statue. And we see the Jinni coming out of the lamp of Aladdin in this statue, and the entrance of Rashid Hotel. This legend inspired also the great architect Frank Lloyd Wright when he came to Baghdad and he was asked to design the opera house, and he used all these characters and symbols of the legends of the 1009. Unfortunately, the opera was not built. So modern studies on Baghdad focus only on the physical and tangible heritage. It is great. We saw the planning, we saw the architecture, and we see here the details, the richness of details, material, ornamentation, the vaulting of the structure of the markets. But all this tangible heritage is deteriorating and very fast. You see sad images of this great heritage. This is a collapsed building in Adamia where the children use as playing ground. The alleys are deteriorating because of the change of land use and other services in the deteriorating infrastructure. Yet, we see that the intangible heritage is still very live. We see the cooking for Al Hussein, for example. We see here they're cooking fish, grilling fish in the Baghdadi unique way of Al Maskoof. People dance and present traditional clothes. Baghdadi still tell stories and hear traditional songs in old cafes, and certain markets are very full of life. They sell, like Sharjah, for example, they sell types of traditional food and accessories. This makes us raise the question, why is the tangible heritage is neglected while the intangible heritage is still going on very well? And how to benefit from this living intangible heritage to revive and complement the tangible one. We could encourage, of course, people to live in their traditional house by giving facilities to improve them and to maintain them, but also maybe certain activities could be done in these heritage buildings, great heritage buildings. We have a very lively market of birds in Suq al-Ghazal that's beside Khulafa Mosque, and this could be maintained very well. And maybe encourage a traditional game like habits to be done in heritage buildings. Present fashion and clothes in them. But and planning view as a whole view, we have to look at the river, which the city, the modern city, have give the river its back. It's not the heart of the city anymore. What we do to revive this? Well, in my last presentation, I mentioned the area of Khadr Elias, and today also. But just in mere coincidence, I was asked to be part of a team to revive the city, the Tigris banks, the river Tigris banks. So what we suggested that to have places by the river that would be linked visually and by the river, and to create certain places for people through this river along the city. And then I was asked to design, I chose, of course, I was asked to choose certain areas. I chose this one and others. And I was asked to do the design, and I did the design to maintain this liveful image and just to arrange certain places here with an amphitheater and with an element, a vertical element to correspond with the vertical element in Al-Qishla, as this place is full of people and Al-Qishla is full of people and culture, so as to maintain this life, what do you say, this life complementary vision. Yes, I'm finishing.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Yes, through the river. And this is what we came up to link the tangible and intangible heritage and revive the places of hope. Thank you.